Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing? Cowboy Crunk here, checking in from Houston. Gonna get some things started real quick. Wanted to go over a couple players I think we need. Been sitting out for a day or two, as you guys know, especially with the situation. Just coming back from Afghanistan. I want to get a little music going here for a live stream. Let me get this rolling real quick. Now my computer wants to act up. Also got to get the YouTube page going here. Let me get the YouTube page going real quick, guys, and we'll jump on this. I want to get the situation, get some feedback on what you guys think about Rico Gathers. I know he had a good catch in practice yesterday. I've been going over some things. Also, still hitting on this Earl Thomas thing, man. I got no new news. I'm just trying to, it's selling points. We got selling points on. On the situation with Earl Thomas. I think it needs to happen. We're going to be in a situation where if we don't make this happen, we're really going to be in a bad situation if we get a game away or 2 games away from the Super Bowl, and we're going to be thinking, these are 2 players that if we would have had, we had much better potential on getting in there, winning the Super Bowl or the next playoff game or so forth. Like the 2 games we lost against Green Bay to end the 2015 and 2017 season, 16 and 14. Those 2 games, if we would have had Earl Thomas then, and I know that's not possible, but what I'm saying is if we had that extra defensive player like that playmaker on defense, we would not have, we wouldn't have had to we wouldn't have been in that situation where Aaron Rodgers burned us twice. So to me, it's horrible that the Cowboys are not jumping on this opportunity they're not jumping on the opportunity to take him. And I know it's there, of course, as we all know, that Seattle has to make the call. Seattle's going to have to step up and kind of offer him to us. But the Cowboys have an opportunity to make the phone call as well. And that's what I wanted to go over. I wanted to go over our quarterback situation. I want to start with 2016 and the moves we made since then real quick. And I want to know if it makes sense to you guys. Golden Garrett, Cowboys should trade Rico to Chargers, who are desperate for a tight end. If they're not going to use him, I agree. And that's the situation I actually have here in my notes I wanted to talk about. I know what's going to happen if we let this guy go or we trade him. We're going to end up playing a team later this year or next year, and you're going to see Jason Garrett over on the sideline. You're going to see Rico Gathers make 2 or 3 plays. He's going to be playing really well for another team, and you're going to see Jason Garrett over there clapping his hands, and after the game, they're going to ask Jason Garrett, hey, how do you feel about, you let Rico Gathers go, and now he's playing for another team, and he's doing really well, and you guys, decided not to keep him because of the sorry guys, I had to move the camera a little bit. You guys decided not to keep him because of the blocking situation. And Jason Garrett, he's going to clap his hands, and we're really proud of Rico, and it's really great that he's going to be his typical normal self. Hey, what's up, Caballero? I'm horrible with my Spanish. Caballero, 1152, Caballero. I don't know who we would get from the Chargers. There's a couple players I would like. That's another place that they're looking at. Possibly Earl Thomas would fit in, fitting in with the Chargers. So I hope that doesn't happen. And Golden Garrett, I know you're big on Jason Garrett. I know you're a Garrett fan. If I recall right from one of the previous. I'm down with Jason Garrett. I really was good with him as the season started, off of watching the thing there on Amazon Prime. I felt good about Jason Garrett, but I'm starting to have some, I guess, reflex on that because they have not made this Earl Thomas deal happen. We have the people, we have the personnel, we have the draft picks next year. I don't think we need that many draft picks next year. We're only missing in a couple spots. We've got long-term signs on our we've got long-term signs on our offensive line. Most of those guys are locked up. We do need to do DeMarcus Lawrence next year. We might be looking at doing something with a few other players. I think this is the time we need to go get Earl Thomas, or it might be, it might come too late. Seattle might sign him to a long-term deal. They might, hold him out this year and then say, hey, we offered you your deal, here it is, you need, So my breakdown on this is real quick, and I want to go over the Earl Thomas thing real quick again. Safeties played well, but yeah, we need more. Yeah, we need depth there. This is what I don't understand. Stevie Mack, hey man, I appreciate you. You're always here. I thank you very much for that. Yeah, we have 3 safeties. There's a requirement to have 2 on the field at all time. So we have 1 backup. So if one gets hurt, we have both of our starting safeties on the field and no backup. So why would we have 3 quarterbacks when Dak Prescott has never been hurt? He's never shown a tendency to get injured. He's a young, thick, solid guy. His wrists and his ankles are huge. We have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So what are they expecting him to get hurt? The only injury he had last year, if you guys recall, during the Washington game, he took a face mask to the back of his right hand. He went to the locker room for about 6 minutes, and Cooper Rush never even got a playoff. He never got a playoff, and the reason he didn't get a playoff was because, if you guys recall, it was 3rd down. Dak Prescott got injured on his right hand during the Washington game. He went to the locker room to get checked out. We punted because that was a 3rd down play, so it was 4th down. We punted to Washington. Washington held the ball about 3 minutes, and they punted back to us. On that punt, that was when Ryan Switzer returned that punt for a touchdown. He returned the punt for a touchdown. We kicked off to Washington. They held the ball until the end of the 2nd quarter. And after halftime, Dak Prescott came back out and finished the game. So Cooper Rush never got to take a snap. And I was really looking forward to Cooper Rush taking a sack. Let me see the question. Safeties play well, but yeah, we need 1 more person for depth reason. Whenever the trade for ET or sign someone, I think we're going to play 2 more preseason games and see how we look first. That's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Another thing, guys, what Seattle needs, and you guys can check the roster. I'm going to go over that real quick. As long as I don't talk too much, I'll get to the stats I have. Seattle has no backup quarterback. They just brought in a 4th backup. Right now they have 4 quarterbacks on the roster. They just brought in Josh Johnson, who's like an 8-year veteran who hasn't played a game. He hasn't played a snap in a regular season game in like 5 years. I have his stats real quick. Let me pull those up for you. Josh Johnson, who they just brought in yesterday, has not played. He was on the Texans roster, the Giants roster, the Buffalo Bills, the Colts, the 49ers, and the Bengals and the Browns. That was from 2017 back. Texans in 2017, Giants 2016 and back. Has not played a snap. 0 snaps. He played 1 snap in the Cleveland game, 2012, and got sacked. It was 1 play for a sack of 8 yards. Prior to that, he played at Tampa Bay for 4 years. He has a combined 117 completions, 96 attempts, 54% pass rating, and he has 1,000 yards over. He has 1,000 yards over 11 years in the NFL. So these guys are really looking for a quarterback. The other 2 quarterbacks that they have on the roster ahead of him basically are Austin Davis. Austin Davis has played 4 years. He has very, very little playing time. He has somewhat decent stats for the time he's been in, but his quarterback to his interception to touchdown ratio is not so great as well. So they're really looking for a quarterback. Now I'm going to jump to, why did the Dallas Cowboys draft Mike White? Some people say it was because Hey, you guys, Mark Holmes just posted that Saquon Barkley left practice with I guess a slightly injured leg with a leg wrap. So I hope he's okay. You guys know we want to win the division outright and fair, and we don't like injuries to any of the players whatsoever, no matter who it is. There's only one player, as you guys know, that injuries, any Cowboy fan may make us smile, and that would be a slight injury to Aaron Rodgers prior to a playoff game, because we don't play them this year. But if we do, it will be in the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers is always tough. He's taking it out on us, and that's why I'm saying we've got to have Earl Thomas. Those last two games, the game where Dez, the catch with Dez, we might not have been in that position if we had, where we at? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I lost the YouTube page there for a second. Let me see. I got to check in with the post here. Cowboys will carry 2 quarterback Whites to practice squad. Well, Garrett, what I'm thinking is, with Seattle needing a quarterback, will they take a 3rd round pick? Which they're going to get a compensatory pick anyways. If they release Earl Thomas or he leaves next year, they get a 3rd round pick automatically. But would they take a 3rd round pick and Mike White instead of moving him to the practice squad? I agree, we move him to the practice squad, but I think the thing with the practice squad is I think someone will snatch him off our practice squad. We move him to the practice squad, and he has no rights to the team. Anyone can just call him, and if he decides he wants to sign with the 53-man roster for the team that calls him, he can do that. The thing is, right now, and I agree with your statement about waiting 2 games. Who was that? Stevie Mack. I agree on waiting 2 more games. The reason is, right now, all the teams are carrying 90 on the roster, of course. And they're even moving guys around this early. You think, why are you moving 90 guys around right now? You're cutting 2 and adding 2 because they want to, get some. So really, a lot of the teams are kind of carrying like 93, 94 players because they'll cut a few and add a few week to week, depending on what they see. There's a lot of quarterbacks on rosters right now that are not going to be on rosters in 2 weeks. As you guys know, every week the roster, after this week, every week the roster gets cut down. So there's some teams out there and we may be able to pick up a safety that way, maybe not Earl Thomas. So if this doesn't happen, like you say, I agree, we wait a couple weeks, we see if there's some safeties that might have some promise, some teams that are safety heavy that cut a safety, or cut a really good corner that we think would work at safety. My thing is, I think we need Earl Thomas in here now. And the reason I say that is Chris Richard is he's like your professor if you were in college. Chris Richard is the guy that's teaching everyone everything. Chris Richard is the guy that can project it from the sideline onto the field. Now, if you have Earl Thomas in there, it's probably the communication's going pretty well right now. As they've been together for about 4 weeks now, practicing, and then the first preseason game. But if you have Earl Thomas back there, he knows what Chris Richard is going to say before he says it. He can relay that onto the field, and when he's got a linebacker 5 yards in front of him to the left, he can relay exactly what Chris Richard is talking about. Or Chris Richard could probably just turn the defense loose to Earl Thomas and say, hey, quarterback my defense. You know what I want. You've been there before. You've done, So those guys talk during the week, and Earl Thomas is capable of putting that out during the huddle, speaking to the linebackers, especially the secondary guys, and telling guys to shift over, move up. Hey, go ahead and a lot of plays on the defense. There's an option to blitz or cover the tight end, or to and he can call that. Hey, they have code words and stuff that they say, just like on offense they do. They'll say that code word telling a linebacker to blitz, I'm going to cover your tight end for you. And those kind of type things, Earl Thomas would bring that in immediately. It would make a big difference. So you don't only have the professor teaching the defense, You got your OJT guy. You got your on-the-job training guy there doing everything. I hope so. Cowboys face. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Mike White ends up on a different team, not because I hope he shows out in this. He didn't play so great in the first preseason game. He had decent numbers, but he wasn't aggressive enough, I think, on the offense as a quarterback. We've got to get these guys aggressive. And if you guys don't know, we passed the ball, I think it was 39 times, which is not normal for us. But I suspected that would happen because we got to find out where these tight ends are at, and we got to find out where our receivers at. Once we find out where these tight ends are, the receivers are, once we get this, we'll go back to our normal offense, passing the ball 23 to 28 times a game. But to see 39 passes in a game was crazy, and we actually had 16 players. 16 players for the Cowboys had receptions. That is amazing. No one had more than 2. There was about 4 players with 2 receptions. There was about that was 39 pass attempts, not receptions. We had 39 pass attempts. I think it was 24 or 26 receptions. But 16 players had catches in the game. That is a very, very good observation that we don't know who's starting at receiver. And that's why I really think Dak Prescott, they always talk about the security blanket for a quarterback. I think our security blanket is Rico Gathers. I think he has the size. I think he has the catching ability. I think he can. He's the player that could be that go-to guy on 3rd and 15, 3rd and 12, 2nd and 20, 1st and 20. We do have 1st and 20 is a fairly common situation in the NFL because on 1st down, when you have running plays, which we do a lot, we had a lot of 1st and 20s, guys, and that's when you're going to need a player like Rico Gathers, and you're going to need our receivers to step up. And Rico Gathers is a different animal. He's not like our other 3 tight ends. Yet maybe he has a little issue blocking, but we need a player like that. And I'm telling you, if we cut the guy or release him, Jason Garrett is going to have shit on his face in a few months. Hey, what's up? Hey, Truckee, how you doing, bro? White looked like he just another stiff. Yeah, he didn't look that great against the 49ers. I think he'll clear waivers to me the way the Cowboys will carry 3 quarterbacks on. I'm hoping they don't carry 53, and let me explain why I don't think they will. If you recall last year, I started talking about this earlier, but I went away from it. We had Kellen Moore at the number 2 last year, and we had Cooper Rush at the number 3. They really, really liked Kellen Moore. The Cowboys, Garrett, the whole squad liked him a lot. When Cooper Rush outplayed him during the preseason, he had 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. He averaged 300 yards a game in those 2 games he played, and with no interceptions and 6 touchdowns. 2 of those touchdowns were to Rico Gathers as well. But they still cut Kellen Moore, even though they liked him, and they cut him because when you carry 3 quarterbacks, you're losing a player that you could use on special teams, or you're using a specialty player like Tavon Austin. Of course, we're not going to cut him, but you have players like that. Let's say Ryan Switzer was still with the team. That's a player that might have gotten cut, so you can carry 3 quarterbacks. Another player that might get cut, so you can carry 3 quarterbacks, is Rico Gathers. And he's kind of considered a specialty player because they don't trust his blocking. They don't know if he can. And it's not so much for the run game. It also is slightly like that for the passing game. If Rico Gathers is supposed to read the defense and maybe chip a linebacker or chip the defensive end before he goes out on his pass pattern, if he doesn't pick that up, you've got a defensive end or a linebacker coming right at Dak Prescott, without any kind of block between him and Dak Prescott. You got a linebacker coming full speed at your quarterback. So he has to read those things right, and that's what the blocking part is. It's not lining a guy up in front of him and saying, block this guy. That's a little different. But on the tight end position, You have to know your play. You have to read kind of what the defensive guy in front of you is doing, and you have to play off that. If you think he's rushing, blitzing, you have to chip him before you go out on your block, at least. And you have to cut your route short as well. You may have to cut your route short if the ball's supposed to come to you like 7 and out. You may have to chip him and do a 3 and out and try to pick the yards up. You know, if you're the first read. So there's different things that linebackers and quarterbacks are supposed to do. But that's my sell on Rico Gathers. The same thing with Earl Thomas, guys. I'm gonna try to be on. Mark Holmes has his live show tonight. I'm gonna try to jump in there with him. I know he's got E2 Blue there. So I'm going to send him a message shortly and see if I can jump in. If not, I'll be on there on the live stream with him. But, you know, this thing, Seattle really, really needs a quarterback bad. And I'm hoping that we can get a game or two out of Mark White, make him look really good. If we can make Mark White look like Dak Prescott was a 4th rounder, Mike White is a 5th rounder. So if we can make Mike White look like Dak Prescott in a pregame or two, like Dak Prescott did, 2 years ago, what's to say that Seattle wouldn't take Mike White and a 3rd round pick? I don't think we need him. We cut Kellen Moore. We cut Kellen Moore when the Cowboys really liked him and put Cooper Rush in front of him, and we didn't hold 3 quarterbacks that year, and we really had 3 quarterbacks the Cowboys liked. It's not my decision. The Cowboys really liked Kellen Moore, and they still cut him because they decided we're not carrying 3 quarterbacks. So if you have 3 that you like and you cut one, it's pretty obvious. I think the Cowboys are not interested in going with 3. I think the whole intent of drafting him was, and this is kind of way off, if the Cowboys are thinking that much in advance and it works out, that's really great. But, if you look back in the draft, we had a lot of players that we were looking at defensive tackle, we were looking at safety, and they didn't address really too much of that in the draft, especially safety. So I think they really got something in the works on the safety thing. Maybe Seattle, when they were discussing the trade, the 2nd round pick came up. Connor Williams was there, and the Cowboys said, we're not giving you our 2nd round pick. Connor Williams is on the board, and that's who we want. And they took him. And I'm sure they discussed after that. Maybe Seattle said, well, we need a quarterback. Maybe Cowboys picked Mike White up just to see if they could use him as trade bait later. Because, seriously, there's not a team in the NFL that has the backup quarterback situation that Seattle does. Their backup quarterback situation is famine. There's no food at backup quarterback. You guys can check the roster. You can check all 3 of the other guys they got. Like I said, if you guys just came on, they got Austin Davis, who has horrible stats for the 4 years he's been in the NFL. They have Alex Mago, who they picked up in the 7th round just last year. He hasn't played a snap in a regular season game. And they brought in Josh Johnson this week, who, like I said, he's been in the NFL for 11 years, and he hasn't even thrown for 1,000 yards in 11 years. That's 100 yards a season. Come on, guys, you don't bring players like that in, and I really think they're bringing him in to tease the Cowboys. The Cowboys are watching. If I'm watching Seattle and everything they do, I can guarantee you the Cowboys are watching everything Seattle does, and then bringing in a quarterback is kind of letting the Cowboys know, hey, we're bringing in a quarterback. We don't need Mike White. We don't need, we're not looking at a trade. But there's no quarterbacks on the market right now. With all teams having set 90 on the roster, there's no loose quarterbacks, out there that you can just call at home, unless you want to call Johnny Manziel and Colin Kaepernick are the only 2 out there that I think are available. And I don't know that they'll get a call, and that's kind of horrible. As you guys know, Colin Kaepernick could definitely help some rosters out. It separates. There's separation in the locker room with that stuff, and that's what that causes. And they're trying to stay away from it. I guess every team, and not most. It looks like every team is trying to stay away from that. So That's my breakdown, guys. Like I said, we need Earl Thomas on the field. Chris Richard will have somebody to teach the guys on the field, and that's about it, man. And like I said, if we don't get Rico Gathers, if we don't keep him, if they cut him or they trade him, that's the only option I think is a trade. Because if they put him on the practice squad, he's going to be gone. They'll get nothing for him. They could look at trading him. I don't know how many teams would be interested. We probably won't get a lot for him. But I can guarantee you, like you said, the Chargers are short on tight end. We are too. So I think we carry 3 quarterbacks and 4 tight ends, or excuse me, 2 quarterbacks and 4 tight ends. We're carrying 4 running backs. That's pretty obvious. I think the quarterbacks played well. Hey, honey, my cat. But yeah, we're gonna end up carrying 4 Nappy. Look, sorry. Yeah, the wife had to step in. The cat was. I moved some things around to get this done, and the cat, man, he notices everything. So he was playing with something I had moved to set up my little studio. Lost two viewers during that. But anyways, guys, that's what I think's gonna happen. I hope we carry Rico Gathers. I don't think there's a way we don't. After the catch he made, it was an amazing catch. If you guys didn't see it, it's on a couple of the videos. Just Google, not Google, go to YouTube and put Rico Gathers one-handed catch. He made a really, really good in-stride one-handed catch. Reached out, caught it, caught the ball. Reached out, caught the tip of the ball, pulled it straight in, and kept in full stride straight for the end zone. So really good play. Hope he makes it. You guys hang in there. We'll see you tonight on Mark Holmes' channel. He's doing the live show tonight. I'm going to try to jump in on that with E2 Blue. If not, I will see you guys in the next video. I will be watching the live stream tonight. So have your questions and answers ready, and we'll talk to you guys later. Appreciate you joining the show. Thanks, guys.